Hey there. You ever find yourself staring up at a massive skyscraper and just thinking, how on earth did they actually build that? Well, today we're pulling back the curtain on construction management. It's this kind of hidden profession that takes a wild idea on a blueprint and turns it into the world right in front of us. And that's really the big question, isn't it? Think about it. Every major building project is basically a one-of-a-kind prototype. It has never been built before. And you're dealing with all sorts of unpredictable variables. The weather, the cost of steel suddenly shooting up, simple human mistakes. So how in the world do you wrestle all that chaos into a project that finishes on time, on budget, and, is safe?
Well, the secret is all about mastering what you might call controlled chaos. So let's kick things off by digging into what that problem really looks like and the field that was literally created to solve it.
So here it is. Construction management is, at its core, the playbook for taming that chaos. It's a formal process for planning, controlling, and coordinating all those moving parts, the people, the materials, the equipment, and all the risk that comes with it, from the very first sketch all the way to the grand opening. Okay, so that's the big idea, but how does a construction manager, or a CM as they're called, actually do that? Well, they're constantly playing this balancing act with a set of core project values. I want you to picture them like 6 interconnected dials on a control board. You just can't touch one without affecting all the others. That's right, 6. Every single decision made on that job site, from the huge to the tiny, is tied to these 6 critical and often competing values that the CM has to juggle constantly. And here they are. Cost, time, quality, safety, scope, and function. Now, seeing them all laid out like this is so important. A CM's main job is to keep cost, time, quality, and safety in check, but they're all tangled together. For instance, say you try to crank down the cost dial to save some cash. What happens? Well, you're probably going to see that quality dial dip. Or what if the client wants to add a new feature? That's an increase in scope, and you can bet the cost and time dials are going to spin way up. It's this never-ending, really delicate dance. So, with all those dials to worry about, how do you even start to manage them? It all begins with choosing the right game plan. Before a single shovel hits the dirt, the owner and the CN have to pick what's called a project delivery method. This is basically the master playbook that decides how the whole team is going to work together. All right, let's break down the 3 main ways to do this. First, you've got the old school approach, design, build. It's very step-by-step, but here's the catch. The owner's on the hook for any design screw-ups, which means high risk. Then you have the construction management approach. Here, you bring in the CM early as an expert advisor, which really helps lower that risk. And finally, there's design build. This is where you hire one single firm to do both the design and the construction. It's often the simplest, contract-wise, and it moves the most risk away from the owner. Okay, so the team has its playbook. But what does a construction manager actually do all day? We've talked about the big picture. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty, the actual jobs they have to perform to keep this whole train on the tracks. And you might think it's this impossibly complex role, but really, you can boil the whole thing down to 8 core functions. These are the 8 pillars that hold the entire project up. Let's start with the 4 big ones you'd probably notice if you walked onto a site. First, they've got to estimate the project costs. That's what sets the budget. Second, they create the master plan and schedule. That's the roadmap for the entire build. Third, they're the ones managing the actual job site, coordinating all the on-site logistics. And number 4, and this one is absolutely critical, they're responsible for job site safety. Nothing is more important than making sure everyone goes home in one piece. And then there are the other 4 jobs, which are more of the behind-the-scenes, command center type of work, but they are just as crucial. The CM administers all the contracts. We're talking tons of paperwork. They're constantly monitoring performance, checking if things are on schedule and on budget. They manage quality control to make sure the work is actually built to the right standards. And finally, they're always assessing risks, trying to see problems before they even happen. This is really the nerve center of the whole operation. And this quote just nails it. When you strip away all the schedules and contracts, the true mark of a great construction manager is their ability to solve problems. It's all about making those tough calls in really high-stakes, unpredictable situations, a lot of times without all the information you wish you had. So that really leads us to the final piece of the puzzle, the person. What kind of mind thrives in this incredibly demanding job? What does it actually take to be a great CM? Well, it's a pretty special mix of skills, that's for sure. You need to have that deep technical know-how, almost like an engineer, but you also need the practical, on-the-ground experience of a seasoned builder. On top of that, you gotta have sharp business sense for all the contracts and money stuff, plus serious leadership skills to manage huge, diverse teams. And these days, you absolutely have to be a whiz with technology, because that's what ties it all together.
So the next time you walk into a brand new building, just take a second and remember, this didn't just happen by accident. It's the result of 1,000 tough calls, 1,000 problems solved, and that constant, delicate balancing act. The world we live in is being built and rebuilt every single day, which leaves us with a pretty important question to think about. Who do we trust to turn those dials?